everyone. This is Martha. I'm a relationship counselor and clinical sexologist, and I'm at Starbucks Bugis. I have a meeting at 10, and I'm not even sure if the person is going to show up. So anyway, this is where I am. You can have a look. This is Starbucks at Bugis. Okay, anyway, this is where I'm at. So I'm just wanting to make a quick video because I have some time before my meeting at 10, and let's see if the person shows up. It's more like a social get-together. And the day before, I had a client who I was meeting via Skype, and I don't get many Skype clients because a lot of people prefer to meet me face to face. But this particular person has been following me on YouTube, and obviously it's not in Singapore. And it just struck me that maybe I should make this video to explain a little bit more about my work. So I'm a clinical sexologist. This is what I call myself, and I'm also a relationship counselor. So I have a doctorate in human sexuality, and I had certificates in counseling coaching. I have certificates in counseling coaching and sex therapy. And last year I got the paper for my master's in counseling as well. So I also started to call myself a relationship counselor because that's what I had been doing as well for 10 years, but I just didn't have the degree. But I already had my doctorate in human sexuality. And people with a doctorate in human sexuality, a lot of my classmates, they call themselves sexologists or clinical sexologists. And to add confusion to that, because I'm the only person I was the only person who called myself a clinical sexologist, so a lot of people didn't really understand or know what it was. So when I started my practice, a lot of people asked me, is it just theory or practical? And I never really know how to answer it, because what I teach my clients is very much based on proven, scientific, academically proven techniques that helps people with sexual difficulties, or if you want to call it sexual dysfunctions. And the approach is very practical. Give them home assignments. We don't just talk about the problem. We actually give them small little homework to allow them to overcome their issue more quickly. And so it's a combination of both. And also the approach is very simple, proven, practical. And yet when they ask the question, is this practical, there's this assumption from the way they're saying it that there definitely is going to be touch on nudity. And to add confusion to this whole thing, I do have classmates in the US who call themselves sexologists, who do hands-on work. In general, most of them do, but there are people who do. And they have the same degree as me, they do hands-on work. Some of them call themselves sacred intimate or sex surrogate, on top of the doctorate in human sexuality that they have. So it's no wonder that there's all this confusion. So my approach is, like what I mentioned, it's very much practical, even though it's based on theoretical applications and concepts. And there's no touch nudity in my work, and it's very unfortunate, because there are people who think and believe and are adamant that, oh, if you don't do any hands-on work, you don't teach me anything, and that's not true. I think a big part of learning about your sexuality and developing confidence and skills is to understand what you are supposed to do, to understand the rationale behind it. That's why we spend the time and effort to educate, to understand, and then you do. So the doing can actually be at home. And when you are fixated on the fact that you need to practice with someone, a complete stranger, I just find that it's a little bit, it can be a little bit disempowering of your own body, dishonoring of the sacredness of sex, and also the sovereignty of your body. Like, you just give it to someone and say, there, here's my body, you fix it. Like a car mechanic, you know, fix it. And actually, if you understand the homework that is assigned to you, the rationale, the explanation behind it, and then you do go back and practice it, you need space and time for safety, and also to go deeper within yourself. And we need to create time and space for these experiences to happen, because we are busy, and so you can't just go somewhere and then say, okay, now do me. And that's not the work that I'm interested in doing. I know there are people who do that, who do explicit coaching. I don't. And I feel that it's really not necessary in my experience. But there are people who insist that this is the way, the right way, the true way, the only way. And that's fine, you know, then we are not a good fit. I've noticed that people who, even though it's okay to ask questions, you're not sure, you know, but you have to respect the boundaries of the person that you're approaching, the practitioner. And so I feel also I want to emphasize that my work has a very big emphasis on the body-mind connection. When the mind does something, the body gets to feel, and the body doesn't freak out, or the body gets used to what is happening. So you learn about yourself through your body. And so by having strong body-mind connection, establishing new neural connections, new neural pathways, sex can become easier and easier. And so this is a strong emphasis of my work. It's a little bit different from psychologists, or I guess very traditional sex therapists, because they focus very much on the mind and the inner workings of the mind. I focus very much on the mind-body connection, because what I've studied is a combination of many different modalities and techniques, and the basis of a lot of it is sex therapy. And so there's also somatic coaching that is being done. And so because of the way I have had those trainings, the way I put together how I work with clients is a little bit not just talking and not just theory. It does involve explaining, teaching, educating, and then for them to go back and do the homework. So this is Martha from Eros Coaching, just to clear that misconception that my work is very much theoretical only. It's very much practical, but practical not in the sense of with nudity. It's fully ethical. I've been in practice for 10 years, and this is how I choose to do my practice, and I respect people who choose to do it differently, but that's not how I do it. And so people need to learn how to respect the boundaries of their practitioners, whatever their boundaries they choose to establish. And just because they have boundaries, it doesn't mean that they are not sex positive. It doesn't mean that they have an issue about sex. It just means they have boundaries. So this is Martha of Eros Coaching, and I do have a YouTube channel that has a few hundred videos, so you can check it out. Okay, so yeah, just to say bye. Just to say bye, and check out my YouTube YouTube channel, and you can subscribe to my emailer. That's eroscoaching.com.